Hello, and welcome to another video for Junji Ito Maniac, Japanese Tales of the Macabre. So I've already done a review for every single episode, which you guys can go see. I've uploaded them all already. This one is just, I guess, going to be a quick summary of my final thoughts on the series overall. And then we're going to jump into a bunch of short stories that I recommend you check out. So if any of you watch the series and you're like, oh, I kind of like some of these short stories, I want to read a little bit more of Junji Ito stuff, like what would you recommend? I'm going to give you some of my recommendations that the series didn't already adapt. So overall, I thought the series was okay. The biggest problem with it is the visuals. They were okay at some parts, but you can tell that a lot of the animation there was a lot of lack of animation in this series. There's just a lot of, it felt too much like static images moving around. It felt like, I don't know, maybe they wasted most of the budget on the intro, which is really, really good. I didn't really talk too much about the intro, but the intro is basically a trippy montage of Tomie naked to hip hop music. And I know that sounds really weird and out of place, but it actually is kind of cool. But other than that, like maybe they wasted all their budget on some other stories, because there are some stories that it feels like the animation is actually pretty damn good, and then a lot of stories after that it's just kind of like, oh, did you run out of money? It's kind of poor. And also some of them, it fits the I don't want to say the Lovecraft thing. Like, for anyone who's not aware of H.P. Lovecraft, he's like one of the greatest horror writers of all time, and most of his stories deal with like cosmic horror and the unknown and stuff. And his stuff is very, very hard to translate into visuals, into video games, movies, TV shows, because a lot of his entities and horrors are undescribable. That's what makes them so horrifying, is that he can't put them into actual words to describe, and it leaves a lot to your imagination. Some people might say that about Junji Ito's stuff, but I mean, Junji Ito's stuff's already visual. It's a manga, so it's not that hard. It's just obviously the manga shows way more detail, so everything comes across more horrifying in the manga than it does in the anime. But I think that could be fixed by just giving the anime a bigger budget. If you give the anime a big budget to be able to accurately detail all of Junji Ito's little horror and graphic moments, then yeah, you will have a terrifying series on your hands. But I feel like maybe most of the money was spent just getting the license for some of Junji Ito's works, and that was kind of it. It's kind of a shame. Also, some of the story decisions were not all that great. So going through the list, let's go through the list from episode 1 to 12. The Strange Hikizuri Siblings, The Seance. I would not have picked a Hikizuri siblings story to do a segment on. I personally like the Hikizuri siblings just because they give me it feels like Junji Ito's take on the Addams Family, and I love Addams Family and I love Junji Ito. So combine the two and it's like, all right, sweet, I want to check that out. So I personally enjoyed the stories. However, not a lot of people don't seem to care for them too much, and I just wouldn't have put them with the Junji Ito stuff, because Junji Ito is very. I want to introduce people, like when it comes to Junji Ito, introduce them to the horror stuff, not necessarily the horror comedy. I would not have put any of the Hikizuri siblings in this series. I would have left that out, put in something else. What would I put in instead? Well, maybe one of the stories from the list I'm going to give you in just a bit. The story of the mystery tunnel and the ice cream truck was episode 2. I would have gotten rid of the ice cream truck story and just had the entire episode be the story of the mysterious tunnel. I would have fleshed that out, made that just the entire episode. That's a really, really, really good short story. One of my favorites, very memorable. So I would have done the entire thing of just that, and not have done the abrupt ending that they went with. I would have stuck to the actual original ending that we see in the manga. Episode 3 was the hanging balloons. Loved it. I love the fact that they focused the entire episode on that. I wouldn't really change anything other than just some of the visuals. The CGI for the balloons, it kind of took me out of it at times. I would have just stuck with hand-drawn animation. And just the sounds of the balloons kissing, it came across more comedic than horrifying. So I would have probably used a different sound effect, or just not show them kiss, just show the two heads come close together like they're about to kiss, and then just cut to the next scene. That's kind of what the manga does in the first place. You don't actually see the balloons kissing. You see them kind of approaching each other, and then it cuts to the next panel. The room with four walls and where the Sandman lives. I didn't care for either of these. I hate Soichi, so the fact that you have a Soichi story here is lame. And where the Sandman lives, it's an interesting story, but not enough I would have done a segment on. I thought this was a poor decision for these two stories to get adapted. I would not have done either of them. So that was kind of a wasted episode in my opinion. The next one is Intruder and the Long Hair in the Attic. Intruder was a really weird decision because like I discussed in the review for it, Intruder is part 4, I believe, of a 6-chapter arc. It's chapter 4. So not only are you jumping into the middle of an arc, but then you just kind of leave it at the middle of the arc. You don't have any setups for where the story is going, and you don't have the other two to kind of conclude the story. So people are kind of left like, was that it? And no, that's not it. There's 3 chapters before it, and there's 2 chapters after it. So I would not have used Intruder. That was just a really weird decision to go with. I don't know why you would pick something, like pick the middle story of an ongoing arc. Long Hair in the Attic, though, was awesome. I thought that was good. I would have maybe just focused the entire episode on that. I don't know if you could, though. I don't know if there's enough for Long Hair in the Attic to fully flesh out into 20 minutes. If not, I probably would just have not used it and gone with something else. But overall, Long Hair in the Attic is a good story. The adaptation is fine for the most part. They had to like condense it a little tiny bit, but I thought it was good overall. But yeah, still like wondering why you picked Intruder, but at least Long Hair in the Attic kind of made up for it. The next episode was Mold in Library Vision. So Mold was kind of butchered. They cut out a lot of it, and the visuals don't really show how horrifying the mold and fungus actually is. So that was kind of a shame. The story itself is better, obviously. I mean, the manga version is going to be better for all of these, but at least some of the adaptations are like really close. Mold, like I said, it could have been great. It's just okay. It would have been better if you stuck more closely to the manga, didn't cut out a bunch of stuff, and just again, the visuals didn't really help in any way. Library Vision was a terrible decision. I think it's one of Junji Ito's poorer stories. I didn't care for it all that much. And the changes that they made completely give it a totally different meaning. I didn't like it at all. So yeah, I didn't really care for this episode overall. I probably would have gone with another story instead of Mold or Library Vision. The episode after that was Toontown. That was a great episode. I loved it. Other than the ending being a little bit different, kind of. I mean, it still kind of ends the same, but there's a little bit more to the ending. Everything is pretty faithful. I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it. Again, some of the horrifying stuff isn't as horrifying as it appears in the manga. Maybe, I don't know, maybe do an anime adaptation of Junji Ito stuff in black and white. Maybe that might make things a little bit better. But you can tell that some of the production quality was a little bit low. But overall, it was still a good, fun, entertaining segment. And yeah, I would have, if I got to pick stories to do they came up to me and said, Pirate, what stories would you want for Junji Ito anthology? I would put Toontown in there. I think it's good enough. All right, the next one is Layers of Fear and the Thing That Drifted Ashore. So a lot of people seem to love The Thing That Drifted Ashore. I don't hate it. I did enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as other people did. And I'm not talking about the animated stuff. I'm talking about the actual original manga. It's considered to be one of Junji Ito's best. I don't know why. I think there's a lot of other stories out there that are a lot better than that one. I feel like that story is too short. It could be expanded upon a little bit. It kind of just ends abruptly. I think the anime tried to do as best as they can with that. And Layers of Fear is good. The manga is way better. The manga, like, you really get to see how horrifying it is when when the mom is ripping up her daughter's skin. Like, it's so much more graphic and brutal in the manga that the anime didn't really capture all that well, unfortunately. So that was kind of a shame. The next one is Tomie Photo. Poor decision to go with Photo, in my opinion. I am not surprised that there's a Tomie. I mean, Tomie is one of Junji Ito's I would say it is Junji Ito's most popular character that he's ever created. She has tons of chapters dedicated just to her. I think I said before it was like 18 or so. I think there's like 20 chapters on just Tomie. The problem with Photo is that Photo is chapter 2 of a 6-chapter arc. 6 chapters or 8 chapters? 6 chapters, I believe. So once again, this series is taking a story that has a chapter before it and chapters after it and trying to turn it into a one-shot, and it just doesn't really work. Instead, what I would have done was I would have maybe taken one of the stories from Tomie again, because all those stories are one-shots, or I would have just gone with the very first Tomie chapter, because the way the first Tomie chapter ends works better as a one-shot than Photo did. So I would have done that instead. The next one is the Unendurable Labyrinth and The Boy. The Boy was a really good decision to pick. I think that one was really good. Minus just some of the way that they started off. Whereas in the manga, they start off with her telling the story. Whereas here, they start off in the past and then later reveal that she's telling the story. Other than that, it's pretty faithful. The Unendurable Labyrinth is a unnerving Junji Ito story, but not really all that creepy. I mean, I guess it's just creepy in the sense that people are self-mummifying themselves, which is something that they actually did in the past. But again, like, the reveal isn't all that great. Like, it doesn't hit as much as some other stories. So I probably wouldn't have gone with it. I would have done something else instead of that. The next one is The Back Alley and Headless Statue. I enjoyed both of these, actually. I like the Back Alley story, and I like Headless Statue. So I thought both of these were good. The only problem is that you can really see the lack of a production budget in both of these, especially in the Headless Statue, when we see our main character running and screaming, Reme, like she's screaming, and her mouth isn't moving, and her facial expressions don't match her screams. So that was kind of unfortunate, but in regards to the actual stories themselves, I think they're good, and yeah, I have no problem with them being picked. And then finally, we have Whispering Woman and Soichi's Beloved Pet. Whispering Woman is good. I liked it. I would have cut out Soichi's Beloved Pet and just focused the entire episode on Whispering Woman. Then again, I probably wouldn't have picked Whispering Woman. Like, it's a good story, and I actually really do enjoy it. But I think there's better stories out there that Junji Ito has done. More horrifying, more memorable than Whispering Woman. So I probably would have gone with something else. But if you're going to go with Whispering Woman, I would have just made the entire thing be Whispering Woman and get rid of Soichi's Beloved Pet. I hated Soichi's Beloved Pet. I mean, I guess it's the best of the Soichis that we got, but I hate Soichi altogether. I don't like him. He's terrible. So yeah, all in all, I guess my final thoughts is that I hated it and I loved it. Certain episodes I absolutely enjoyed and loved. Some episodes were just okay. Some of them were just really mind-boggling and I didn't care for. All in all, I think I would give this series, maybe like a 6 out of 10. Kind of a shame because, I want to see a really great Junji Ito anime adaptation. I think that would be really great. Just get some of his more memorable, horrifying short stories. Give it an actual budget and just, let the production studio go nuts. And I think it can be really, really good. Unfortunately, yeah, the lack of budget is very noticeable in this series, so that's kind of a shame. So yeah, there you go. There's my thoughts on the Junji Ito Maniac series altogether. So now let's talk about some Junji Ito stuff that you can check out. So I'm going to go with just two big obvious ones. These aren't short stories. These are longer. Uzumaki. Obviously, I got to mention Uzumaki, probably Junji Ito's magnum opus. Like, it's the one thing everyone knows him for. That one is about this small town on the coast of Japan that's cursed. And it's cursed with spirals. Basically, spirals appear everywhere. We see them in seashells, whirlpools, in the air, in buildings. Even the way the city itself is structured in a giant spiral. And then soon it starts showing up on people's bodies. And things just go very crazy from there. I'm not going to spoil the rest, but go check out Uzumaki. And then the next one I will say is Hellstar Ramina. Hellstar Ramina is another longer story. And that one is basically about the discovery of this planet that appears to be becoming closer and closer to Earth. And as it gets closer, people are able to make out that it has features. It has eyes. It has a giant mouth. It's not a very friendly planet. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go too much into spoiling it, but it deals a lot with just the horrifyingness of this planet as well as the way that people react to the planet and how the people start becoming more violent and crazy as this planet gets closer and closer to them. So, with those two out of the way, let's go into the short stories that I recommend. And the short stories I would have loved to see get some segments. So, this is in no particular order. First one, Anything But a Ghost. Anything But a Ghost would have been a really good short story to do. It's basically about this guy named Shigeru who begins an affair with this woman named Misaki that he finds. She's like bloodied up and stuff, and he discovers her and he ends up falling in love with her, and they get together. Despite the fact that he's already married to some other woman and that his wife is currently pregnant. This strange woman, Misaki, tells him that she has the ability to see ghosts. And she's always had this ability. It started with her mother, who died in childbirth. And I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, it's really weird, creepy. I enjoyed it a lot. So go check that one out. It's called Anything But a Ghost. The next story I would recommend is Marionette Mansion. I don't want to give too much away. Basically, the story focuses on this boy named Haruhiko, and he travels around with his father, and he has a brother and little sister, and they basically are a group of puppeteers. They travel around doing puppet shows, and the father is happy living this lifestyle of just going around with the puppets, but not everyone is. One day the older brother disappears, and before he disappears, he tells Haruhiko that we don't control the puppets. The puppets control us. And I'm going to stop it there. I want you to figure out where that's going. I'm pretty sure you can kind of get some clues, but this one is really good. I absolutely enjoy the hell out of this short story. I would recommend checking it out. So that's Marionette Mansion. The next one is Greased, or Glyceride. It has two different names, but I'm just going to refer to it as Greased. It's basically about this girl named Yu, and her father owns a barbecue restaurant downstairs, and their house is above the restaurant. And because of like poor ventilation, the shop is covered in oil and grease, and the air is like constantly heavy with grease. And Yu's older brother Goro starts becoming like violent and abusive, and he becomes obsessed with this grease, and he's like constantly eating it. And I'm not gonna spoil too much. I'll just say that there's a lot of good body horror in this. Like if you're looking for some good body horrors, Grease is a good one to go check out. The next one, Fixed Face. So Fixed Face is this story about this woman named Yagawa. And Yagawa's going to see her dentist. And her dentist takes her into this room where there's this weird mechanical chair that has these like two thick rods that go into the patient's ears to keep them in place. And it's supposed to be for this specific special procedure that Yagawa is going to undertake. And so she sits down in this chair, and the rods are put over her ear, and she's not able to move. And she's very uneasy, very freaked out because this thing feels like a torture device. But her dentist is like, oh, you don't got to worry about it. Like, this is a new development designed to capture accurate images of the lower jaw. And so everything's going to be fine. The doctor goes to go take impressions of her jaw when the machine doesn't start. And he leaves to go fix it when he falls down some stairs and he's seriously injured. And the ambulance comes and they take him away. But everyone forgets that Yagawa is still strapped to this chair. So she's stuck to this chair, unable to move for who knows how long. And then that's when the horror starts. And I'm not going to spoil anything about the horror. Let's just say that, yeah, it's a really good story. I recommend it. Once again, it's called Fixed Face. The next one is one that I mentioned in one of the earlier reviews. It's called The Woman Next Door. And in this story, we have our main character. Her name is Mimi, and she lives in this apartment. She lives on the bottom floor of this 2-story apartment complex. And her neighbor that lives directly upstairs is constantly blasting music and just being really loud and disrupting her when she's trying to study. So she goes up there to argue with him. And at one point, the neighbor who lives upstairs right next to the musician steps out. And she's covered head to toe in black. She wears like a black dress, black hat, black mask, black glasses, black boots, black gloves. Like no part of her skin is shown. And she is kind of normal height. She walks away. And at some point, another woman comes back that looks just like her, only a lot taller. And basically they discovered that it seems to be multiple people in the room because everyone that steps out, they're all dressed the same, but they all come in different sizes. Some of them are really, really short. Some of them are really, really tall. And the weird thing is that they never make any noise. It's always just dead silent in that room. And so, I'm not going to spoil what's going on. I will say it's really good. I like it. It's one of the more tame Junji Ito stuff. It's not graphic in any way. There's no like violence or anything like that. It's just more like unnerving, creepy horror. But I enjoyed it. It kind of is one of those that just stuck with me. So that's The Woman Next Door. The next one is The Neighbor's Window. And in this, we have Hiroshi. Him and his family just moved into this new house. And he's in his bedroom. And he's kind of curious about the neighbors. So he looks out the window. And he sees this middle-aged woman in the second floor window across from him. And she just looks kind of horrifying. She just has like this like corpse-like face, long claw, bony hands. And she's constantly telling Hiroshi to come visit me. Like every night, she's whispering, come visit me, come visit me. And every time he wakes up, like as the days go, he notices that the window appears to be coming closer and closer and closer to his bedroom window. And I'm going to stop it there because I don't want to spoil anything more. But that one's a really good one. I highly recommend it. And then we get another really, really good one. Army of One. Army of One is just a fantastically creepy, horrifying story about our main character's name is Michiho. And he is, I forgot the Japanese term for it, but he's one of those people, he's a shut-in. He doesn't leave the house or anything like that. He's kind of withdrawn from society. One day he's invited for this class reunion ceremony. And it's the year where everyone's going to turn 20, so everyone's going to become a legal adult. And as this is happening, a bunch of dead bodies of couples stitched together wash up on shore. And so we have this thing where we start seeing more and more bodies being discovered, and all the bodies are stitched together. And I'm going to stop it there. I'm just going to say it's highly unnerving, very creepy, like really good body horror. I love it. And then the final one is one that I'm sure many of you know. And if you haven't read it, you've probably at least seen an image of it because it's been memed to hell. It's the Enigma of Amigara Fault. It is a fantastic, horrifying story. Basically, there is this earthquake in this one part of Japan. And the earthquake reveals this fault on Amigara Mountain. So the fault was not there before, but after the earthquake, the fault gets revealed. And people start discovering that there's holes in the fault. And the holes aren't regular holes. The holes are shapes like the outlines of people. And so a lot of people start gathering around these holes, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And it becomes even more creepy because they realize that each individual hole is different. And each hole is perfectly shaped for one of the residents at the nearby village. So they discover basically that everyone has their own hole. And not only does everyone have their own hole, but the holes are calling out to them. The holes seem to want to draw them inside. It seems to want to get the corresponding human to go into the hole that was made for them. And I'm going to stop it there. I will say it's like one of the most well-known Junji Ito short stories. If you haven't seen it, you've probably seen the meme where it's like, this is my hole. This hole was made for me. That one panel was memed so many times. But the story itself is just really creepy, especially the ending. And I would love to see an adaptation of it just for the ending itself. Like, I want to see how they would pull that one off. But I absolutely love that story. It's the Enigma of Amigara Fault. So yeah, there you go. There's some of my recommendations for Junji Ito to check out. So if you're looking to expand your Junji Ito reading, go check out those stories. You can probably find most of them on Scanlations. Most of them you could just probably type in the name of the story and just type in scans or something and it'll pop up on Google. But there you go. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This will probably be my last Junji Ito video for a while, unless any of you guys want to see more of these. I don't know what else I could do. Maybe recommend more stories or something. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and share with me your favorite stories. If you're a Junji Ito fan, what are some stories that you recommend to newbies out there, or maybe that you would love to see get adapted? I would like to just know what your favorites are. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.